Hi, everyone and everything. That's not right. Hi, everyone and no one. Everyone and everything. That doesn't quite cut it. Anyway, the biggest thing I've been contemplating today, I suppose, is what I've been thinking about, because that's kind of what I've been talking about on this week is on my mind, and that's happiness. Because it's very evident in the world as you go about in it, and even as you live in it. So it's been your belief in most of your life, probably, that happiness comes from objects and people, places, things. So what you do makes you happy, who you're with makes you happy. um, and anytime you don't have those things anymore, you're not happy, you think. So happiness, just about anything, goes back to one of my earlier topics, was identity. So we identify, it seems like, with everything we hear, touch, smell. We identify with the things around us. um, that's been my experience as a so-called separate self. And in non-dualistic language, that seems like a contradiction, because if you have a separate self and a true self, then that seems to be a split person. But in reality, it's not, because we borrow our existence from God. I'm going to use the word God because it's easier to, it relates, so takes me there so quickly. And when I use anything else, it has so many limitations. And I know God has so many religious limitations, but it's still a word that doesn't have the language limitations that some do. Anyway, it's just that where everything comes from place. I'll call it God. But there's only one God, and we borrow our existence from that one God. All of us do. Everything borrows their existence from God. We're created by God. We're the activity of God, all things and all people. So when we talk about a limited self, we're talking about having this dreamlike appearance that we appear to be in God's dream, in God's world, in God's vision. And I can say that with authority when you think about science and how we've never found what material stuff is made of. We think we will, and we continue to look for it, but Rupert and many things have shared that finding of not finding what material things are. So with that, um, it's always backtracking to explain myself from each session I have with this screen here. But as I talked about happiness then, and I talk about that today because it's so much a part of everyone you touch and talk to. It's a part of everyone's intimate desire to be happy. And so many people are trying so hard to get those things and those people and moments, feel better, look better, be better, have more, do more, keep active, have fun, all of these things representing love to folks. And so identities are so elusive because they hop around so much and they identify with so many things in your life, in a life. But that's what I wanted to talk about. So it led into identity because when I think about walking in the world, and I have been walking in the world for 73 years, so I was fortunate to always feel like the unseen was more important than the seen, but that can also reduce itself to our finite limitations in the way of feelings and emotions and such. So, so many boxes have unraveled and opened in my lifetime. So back to happiness, it's so misunderstood. I misunderstood it for many, most years, up into my 50s, into 57, I just began to think about happiness being more than those people, places, things. And I had thought about it before, and I had journaled about the unseen being more important than the seen. But my experience, it's something I knew in my heart, I knew in my soul, but my experience was such that I was happy one day and sad the next, depending on my circumstances, because I was wrapped up in so many dramas. So when I look at that, I'm looking at an experience, or actually several through my life, that you put in your pocket that are so, well, the one in my 50s was so extreme. It's such a gift to have these moments where it seems like you get a glimpse of it's like God showing you something in a big way. Only it's just, it's normal for God to be drawing you home, for God to be wanting you to know who you truly are, and for God to be drawing you to love and to that place, because of your finite being, because of your limitations, and that being an expression or activity of God, the infinite. And infinite refers to, compares with finite, but I can use that word too in and out because there are no others. Anyway, so in certain experiences in my life, one was, the latest one was, I shouldn't say the latest one because now it's just more diffused through my whole life now, but when I have felt completely undressed, naked, and my insides out, like transparent. I have felt so transparent a few times in my life, the latest one being so dramatic. Anyway, I've walked in and out of circumstances, and it's like the space between your thoughts, where you know the unseen is more important than the seen, with that space between your thoughts, that full of emptiness place. And now I'm going to attach a word to it that means a lot to me, and I don't want it to be misunderstood, but it probably will be, and probably is so many times, but the word of purity, where it's like in between thoughts are this purity, this essence, and it feels good because there's nothing in it or on it, or it's not mixed with anything. It's just there, glowing at you, luminous, just like little specks of light in the darkness when you're meditating, if you were to think of it like that. Or I don't know, there's so many ways, so many independent ways, so many perceptions that can be had here. Anyway, so going through circumstances in your life, I did get glimpses of that same thing. I would walk through a circumstance that was really rough in my estimation because I was a part of it. I wasn't seeing the whole picture. I was my finite self, right in there, my finite self, or myself with limitations that I just had, and I didn't see a way out, even though I thought the unseen was more important than the seen. I couldn't see a way out to bringing that into, come through those dramatic circumstances. So walking through those circumstances, the space in between there, I would get such an enormous deep breath, and everything lifted off my shoulders, and I may have nothing but a suitcase in my hand, if that. Lost everything. And it's just like in that situation, when you're such a finite self, it's just like taking off the I am this and I am that and I am this and I am that, and you're left with this naked you being, this naked being, without all the, as Rupert calls them, qualifications, without all the things that, all the conditioning. I call it conditioning, because the conditioning is so thick. The way I put it to myself, or the way I have put my own words and understanding to it, is that conditioning just is like crocodile skin, or it's just thick. And when you go through something that's so hard, and there's a moment there where you're free of it. You've walked out of it. You've left it behind, and you're free. But then, of course, it all comes back because you feel guilty and you feel shame and you feel this and you feel that. I am this and I am that. Immediately you start um, doing it again. But when you're 73, like me, and you do it again and again and again, you start to go, wait a minute. Why am I doing that over and over and over? There's something with this picture that now it's becoming not probably the circumstance. No matter how bad it was, or whatever you want to call it, how you want to label it. So now what you begin to say, or what I began to say, but I'm putting it in like a person in third person, but I'm talking about my own experience. But now you say, did my decisions come from the pure place? Have my decisions ever come from that pure place? Well, yeah, I think those times when you fall in love and you are 100% fallen to melt right into that other person, you feel like you're coming from that place to be there, but that hasn't been healthy for me, because if you're not aligned with, like, let's say my whole and soul and being thinks that the unseen is more important than the seen, but if you're falling and melting into someone who believes the opposite, or believes whatever, but it's sometimes you melt into something that melts you away and you are lost again. So it's very important to examine these things. I feel like, and I'm probably just judging myself as a finite person does, but it would be so nice to look at these things earlier in life, and I wish that for you. I studied a lot of different religions, and I never befell, even as a younger person, I didn't trust what folks, older folks said, because they looked, or it seemed like they were more lost than me, and I was lost, and adults were lost, and the world seemed lost, and it was super confusing. So I didn't trust much. I did trust when I would fall in, if I fell in love with someone, I would trust them implicitly, and it was always one person at a time I would fall in love with, if friend or husband or girlfriend, whatever. With people, you fall in love, and or you become close relationship, and I would trust them implicitly, and that would be a whirlwind as well. So because I would find myself with people who were very, very lost. I didn't know who I was truly. So it was very, and the people around me certainly didn't either. So we're talking about happiness and identity and how that word has been so incomplete for people. Because when you talk to someone, this is what I'm getting at. If you talk to someone and you say happiness is not a feeling, happiness is your true essence. It's the love and the purity that you're made of. That is such a big deal. But when you say that to someone, you can see it just be words going into a head that, happiness, they have happiness here and there all the time. They reach in there, they call themselves happy, and then you'll see they're sad, and you go through these ups and downs many times a day, and I know, because we all do that. We all do that and been there and whatever. The teachings of Rupert have really helped me with this. And so when you find out that this happiness, this purity, you're able to be there and touch that and feel that any time you want to, knowing that it's your essence. It's not a fleeting feeling like all those emotions that you have that go here and there and take you everywhere. So Rupert has a really good way of explaining that to its core depth. Which is what I'm trying to do experientially, but I don't know if I am. But nonetheless, finding, not just hearing that, but experiencing that knowing that is your very essence, that already makes you very peaceful and happy and wow. Just wow, I don't know. Wow, I don't know what words to use on that. But so when some circumstance or when something crosses your path and it triggers a resistance, it allows me to say, whoa, there's a resistance coming. So, or there it's coming, why there? And knowing that I'm a limited self, not separate from God. We're made of that stuff that everything's made of. So it's all part of everything and everyone. So knowing that love in the background, when you can feel that resistance come and you know that in the background, it comes with a certain softness. It comes with a certain touching, like a a pet, like I know you, resistance. It almost makes you want to giggle because there it is again. So I can just see how that lets it go on by. Anyway, so I was talking to my friend about that, and she was feeling that also, and um, but it's very rare that I feel that can get out there to folks, um, and I'd like it to, because just that alone, just that one little teeny piece of, I know, the Rupert's teachings have so many deep intellectual references to um, the non-duality, um, thought, and the intricacies and depth of all of those teachings. But if we take one small part at a time, like this one, to me this one is huge because it's a, just something you see every day, and something that can be such a benefit to someone like me, like it is to me. So I sure do want to share it, and that small part. So maybe, uh, well, anyway, I could get into the identity thing, which I've done before, and probably will do again, because those two things are worth saying from many different perspectives, so that if anyone were to turn on this video, which it those things happen or they don't, but if it were to be heard somewhere out in the universe, um, that would be one of the special parts of Rupert's teaching that would generate the love bug. um, but of course, laying that foundation in a strong way, like the direct path does, is definitely um, makes it really sturdy, and come up from there in a better way, a firm way. Because I know you can, like, just talking about this happiness in the way that I've put it right here in my experience. Someone goes away from the video or from what they've watched, whether it's Rupert or anyone that's put anything out there that makes this kind of connection with source. When people connect, then they walk away from the screen and they're back in the stream of things. It's just gone. So you don't fix anything for people, though. So it has to be a person like all of us that study these things, a person that begins to take life a little more seriously for not for heaviness, but to eliminate suffering from twining through life's experiences and circumstances. So that's just a simple little thing I wanted to review. And yeah, you will, if you do find an interest in any of these things, you might take a look at Rupert Spira's stuff on YouTube, and get to know more things about understanding who you truly are. And I'm not affiliated, and I'm not trying to sell anything. Oh, there. Ugh. Not that. Not that. But it's a wonderful life. So I will end it from there, for now. Good night, all. Or nobody.